Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Today we will start making these buttons, some of them functional, and the very first one is new graph. We need to start from it because if we can't make a graph, then there's no point in anything there. So, to make a new graph, I will have a new window, and I will call this window graph creation pop-up. Okay, and I said it's window, so it's inheriting from editor window. Now, inside the node pop-up, we will have a private static graph creation pop-up. We call it instance. Then we will have a private string graph name, and we will have a private something that we don't have yet, tree type. Okay, now, and we call it tree type. Then we will have a public static void init, and this is where we call instance equals to get window of type graph creation pop-up. Then we say instance dot title content equals to new GUI content. Where are you? Here. And we call graph creation. Then we say instance dot max size equals to new vector2 of 300 by 80, and immediately we say instance dot min size equals to instance dot max size. So we make it a non-sizable window. Okay, now the tree type is one of those enums, and I will come into and find my enums wherever it is. Inside comments, I think. Yeah, and I will have a public enum, and I will call it tree type. We have behavior tree, we have math tree, and we have dialog tree, and that's it. Okay, so by default it will choose the behavior tree for us, although we will not implement anything about behavior tree until the second circle around the project. So we have public void on GUI. Here we say rect last rect equals to new rect of 20, 5, 260, 18. Then we say GUI layout dot space of 20 pixels. So we go down 20 pixels. Then we say tree type equals to cast to tree type the editor GUI dot enum pop-up last rect tree type. So we are making a drop-down menu there. Then we say GUI layout dot space 10 pixels. So go down 10 more pixels. Then we say GUI layout dot begin horizontal and GUI layout dot end horizontal. Inside the horizontal, we say GUI layout dot space 20. So we go toward the right 20 pixels, and we say editor GUI layout dot label field new graph, comma, editor styles dot bold label, comma, GUI layout dot width of 80 pixels. After that, we say graph name equals to editor GUI layout dot text field for graph name. Then we put a space there, GUI layout dot space of 20, so that the text field won't go all the way toward the right. Okay. Then we say GUI layout dot space of 6 pixels. So we move down 6 pixels. We say GUI layout dot begin horizontal and GUI layout dot end horizontal. Here we say GUI layout dot space of 20. Then we say if GUI layout dot button, the button we want is the name create, do stuff for me, and then we will have another 10 space, so GUI layout dot space of 10 pixels horizontally, and we have another button, so if GUI layout dot button, this button is called cancel. Thank you, Doctor Who is downloaded. Yeah. And at the end we say GUI layout dot space of 20. So we have a create button, we have a cancel button. Okay? And at the end of the horizontal, we say GUI layout dot space of 20 again. So we center there and we call repaint. Okay. Now, inside our toolbar, when we are creating the graph, we can say graph creation pop-up dot init. Okay? So we build the project. We come back. And if I hit here, I should see a window popping up. Well, not yet. You need to recreate it. And we are not seeing that window anywhere. Why is that? I think I know why. No, it should be there. Huh. What's wrong with you now? Where did I put the code? New graph. Ah, there we go. On the wrong button. That was load graph, sir. Build it. Thank you. And there we go. We got our pop-up that has a create, that has a cancel, that has the three types. Okay. And yeah, it goes below the other window, but the bottom line is that you can generate a name here and hit create and hit cancel, basically. Okay. Now, for the code on the cancel, it's really easy. All we say instance.close. Okay? But the create is different. In create, we check if not string.is null or empty the graph name. We want to do stuff. Else, we want to yell at you that, hey, editor utility dot display dialog. We want to yell that, hey, we have an error. The error is enter a valid graph name for the graph. And the button is okay. Okay? And we don't return. We don't need to do that. Here is all the magic. So we say if file in system IO dot exists. Now, the position of file is important. Application dot data path plus @ / graph editor / resources / database / plus graph name plus dot asset. If it exists, then we want to yell at you. Okay? We say if not editor utility dot display dialog warning a tree, or I should say a graph with the same name exists. If you hit yes, it will be replaced and you will lose your previous graph. Proceed. The buttons we want are yes and no as the cancel button. Okay, so if it's not the case, we want to return. So if we didn't hit yes, return. Otherwise, we want to say graph utility and not graphic, graph utility that create node create graph. Okay, with the graph name and the tree type. We don't have this graph utility yet. Instance dot close. Now, I'm using file that exists in my notes. I'm not happy with this. If you look, I have assets, plugins, resources, blah, and I'm really not happy with this. So, how can we address this thing? My first idea was to use asset database because this thing will sit inside the editor solution under here. So graph utility will sit here. Okay, so class graph utility, and that's it. So it's static. Because it's sitting inside the editor stuff, we are cool with it. But, you know, I don't know. Actually, when I'm thinking about it, I don't want to be here. I want it to be here. Inside common, I will have a utility and I will have graph utility there. So interesting. Is still seeing it because yeah, we are under the common, I think. And you may not noticed it, but accidentally I deleted the graphic utility instead of graph utility. And thankfully, Visual Studio is so smart to put it inside our recycle bin so I can restore it, you know. And when I come back, you won't see it, but it's here. So we can say, hey, including project. Thankfully, else I had to sit down and retype the whole thing. Okay, so create graph. So here is the thing, public static void create graph. Now we don't have any errors there. Okay, and it accepts a string and a tree type. So a string, name, and tree type, and we call it type. Cool, cool. But the question is this part. It's really questionable because right now I'm assuming that our users know that we will have a graph editor folder, and inside it, it will have a resources. Inside it, it has a database. Well, that is bad. That is really bad. It means that I need to come here and make a folder called graph editor. Inside that, I will have a resources folder, so I will move it here. Inside the resources folder, I will have a database folder. Well, that can work because, you know, my plugins will again sit inside graph editor. And yeah, we basically need to tell you that, hey, clean the solution and, well, I will have a plugins folder here. And that's the folder I want to push these solutions there. So things happen when you go hasty on the very first episode. So browse. Inside assets, you have graphic editors, plugins. Okay, save. And inside plugins folder, I will have another folder called editor. So then you come here, Alt Enter, build. We go here, graph editor, plugins, editor, save. Alt Enter, build will happen inside our assets, graph editor, plugins. And the editor stuff will go again inside the graph editor, plugins, editor. Save and close. And now build clean solution, build solution, and let Unity re-import everything. Everything should be okay here. Come on. And yeah, we basically have two problems because we have duplicated stuff here. And it's gone. But now I don't see it. So why don't I see it? I have some things here that I don't need to. And those are MDB files. Actually, I'm keeping the MDB files, so that's okay. So pause, launch, there we go. Now it's working. Okay, cool. And honestly, I don't like it. I can create another folder and call it buzz. And now if I want to move everything there, it will yell at me that, hey, you can't because the plugins are not working there either. See? So I can close this guy and move everything to buzz now so that it's unlocked. And yeah, we will have this structure, but I'm not happy with it, you know. Best case scenario would be to say that, hey, in resources, look at the folder database, And inside of it, see if there is a database editor folder for me. And that would be it. Well, you know, I changed the structure, and yeah, basically that's the structure. Well, we need to make sure that we have the bus, we have the graph editor, we have the resources, we have the database and the editor. So one way that referring to Unity's documentation will work is to have a static class with a static constructor in it. So let me make a class, and I will say it folder construction, okay, and make it static, and it will have a constructor that is static. It doesn't need to be public, but something need to be put in here. Initialize unload, and it's Unity editor. That's why I put it inside comment.editor. It means that this class will be called as soon as Unity editor is initialized. So let's test it by removing this database folder here, okay? So what I want to do here, we say if not asset database dot is valid folder. The folder we want is inside the assets file. So it is /bus. Okay? Then we want to say asset database dot create folder bus for us. Okay? And what are you yelling at me? Parent folder is asset is application.datapath. Come on. Application inside Unity Engine .datapath, and the data path, then the path we want is bus. So here I need to say application.datapath plus, because application.datapath in the editor refers to the path of the Unity project /assets. Okay? Then after that, I want to make sure if the bus.graph editor exists. So I want it to be plus /bus, and inside that I want the graph editor. Okay, and let me check my notes. It should be without any hackish ways of forward slashes, stuff like that. Yeah, basically. You don't need forward slashes at the end of any part. So then inside the bus graph editor, we want a folder called resources. If you look at my structure, we have the resources, okay, inside graph editor. So if we don't have it, add it to plus /bus/graph editor, add the resources folder for me, okay? And from this guy, if inside the resources we don't have the font, add it inside resources as font. Okay? Then if we don't have the database, add inside resources the database folder. Okay? And inside the resources database, if we don't have any editor folder, create the database, no, resources, database, create the editor folder for me. Editor folder is a very special folder. When whatever you put inside the editor folder will be dropped during the building of your game. Okay, let's build this guy. So remember that we need to now refer to the correct position. So inside assets, we have the boss, we have graph editor, we have plugins, and select folder. In here, we have the boss, graph editor, plugins. This is the editor one. So save. This one is inside assets, boss, graph editor, plugins. And this one is inside boss, graph editor, plugins editor. So build clean solution, build solution, and basically inside Unity I'm running the data. Okay, clear. I don't need you anymore. So if I close the Unity now, and if I rerun Unity, because initialize unload will happen now, and it's not happening. Invalid asset database paths, C, desktop, RPG core, Unity project assets slash boss slash graph editor. Well, I know it's not there. Huh? Wait. Graph editor? It's there. Dumb. Use path relative to the project folder. I think I ran something. Yeah, basically I ran it. So what I want is this. Inside this folder structure, we need to put assets at the front for some reason. And create folder, and we don't need this part, basically. There, because we are working with asset database. Derp. And it's inside assets. Yeah. The indication for me, the hint for me to know that I was wrong was that it said use relative path. So assets. Although you could use system.io if you are using it outside the editor stuff, but this will happen inside the editor stuff, so why not use it? Because initialize unload is the editor namespace, you know. There's nothing around it. So what is this system net mime? What the heck was that? Save and Ctrl+Shift+B so that it builds. Go back to Unity. I'm not sure initialize unload will happen right now. Yeah, there we go. It will happen. So cool. So it will generate this folder structure for me. But that's all good and fancy. I'm not happy with using hard-coded names, although we may use something like this. So it's private constant string, and we call it company name. Okay, equals to buzz. Then we have graph editor folder equals graph editor. Then we will have resources that won't change anytime, but resources folder equals to resources. Then we will have font folder equals to font. Then we will have database folder equals to database. Then we will have editor folder equals to editor. Okay, here I will cut it and I will say plus company name. There we go. And this is here, their company name. And why not? This is the assets folder. This won't change anytime soon. As long as Unity is there, this is that. So assets folder plus /. And this is assets folder. There. This is, oh wait. Yeah, assets folder. This needs to be concatenate there, and we say assets folder plus that. Assets folder plus that, and the buzz is the company name. This is the graph editor name. Assets folder plus this is the company name. And I said plus, not equal. This is the graph editor name plus resources. That would be plus resources folder. This is resources folder, and we need this part to be in here. So that plus a / plus fonts folder. This is the resources, and we want the font folder. that plus forward slash plus database folder name. Database folder name inside resources. That plus a forward slash plus, that's the editor name. That plus forward slash plus database folder name. So that's the same thing. I just broke these guys because later on, for example, I want another thing for our item system, and that would be easy because I just need one more folder, a folder name, and the resources will be there, the database will be there, the editor will be there. That's this the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. And it is inside common editor utility. Cool. So build it one more time. And the initialize unload, thankfully, will happen whenever you build the project again and you come back. It will build, and now you see that I get editor 1. That shouldn't happen. Why did that happen? Because I don't have this part there. Plus that. Okay, so that won't happen again. Build solution, and coming back, I shouldn't see any editor 1 or editor 2 or whatever. There. Now if I delete this guy, I won't delete the font because I have awesome font there. So if I close Unity now, reopen it, run the project, it creates it for me. Cool. That was exactly what I wanted to see. And if I delete this folder again, if I clean the solution, or if I build this solution whenever I build it, if I come back to Unity, because it's reloading itself, it will reload that thing and it will initialize unload and it creates the folder for me. That was exactly the behavior I wanted to see. Cool, I'm happy with the result now. Yeah, fixing a little bit of problem there. So we are making sure that the folder structure is there. But now, because look at me, because I have this, where was it? The folder construction, I have these namings. I can come here and use it here. So if instead of this, the whole thing, I will say var asset equals to asset database dot load asset at path. The path we want is again relative, so I can say folder structure construction dot, and I made them private. Yeah, so I make it public. Each one of them. Okay, and what are you yelling at me? No. So dot assets folder, and then inside assets we want the company name. So plus forward slash plus the company name inside the folder construction plus folder construction dot, and I forgot a forward slash here. So after the buzz, we want our graph editor folder plus a forward slash there plus, and I will break it here. So we go inside assets, buzz, graph editor, and then inside graph editor, we want to go inside resources. So folder construction dot resources folder plus forward slash plus. Inside resources, we want to go into folder construction database folder. So we are moving down to database, okay? And that is where we want our stuff to be checked. So, am I correct? Yeah. So after the database folder, we want a forward slash plus the graph name that we sent in. Load asset at path doesn't need any, I think it needs the asset. I think it needs, let me double check it. Blah, 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 come down. Here, come down, all the way down. That's create. The load I want. Yeah. No, it doesn't need anything. Okay. Maybe not. I'm not sure. No, it doesn't need. Okay. So, what are you yelling at me? Explicitly. So, the thing that we want is a graph as graph. Where is that? Node graph? Did I call it node graph? I don't think so. There. Comma. Type of graph as graph. Okay, and I can remove this part, and it will still work. It will say that, hey, it's object. I don't want that. A graph. And what is it now? Cast to graph. No. No. What did I do? As graph. There we go. Okay. So we say if asset does not equal null. So if we find any asset with the name that we are sending in, then yeah, we want to fall there. Okay. Otherwise, yeah, if that should work actually. Let me check. Okay. It should be it. So let's see inside my, where is it? Utility, graph utility. I will say debug.log creating plus the name we sent in. Okay. Build solution. So inside the Unity, after it imports the DLL, right now I have nothing here. So yeah, I say test and create and create, and I don't get that debug log. What did I miss? Derp. Graph utility. No. No. There. You see, I should put this guy outside the if block. There. Boom. Happy now? I'm happy. Build solution. Come back to Unity. Let it build. So, if I hit create, I get this. Create test. That null reference is just somewhere. On GUI. Yeah, because, if you ever saw this, it means that you had the window, the pop-up window or the graph window open, and you built the project and the instance become null. So, now it won't happen. So create test, and I get creating test. Okay. Now what if I have a file here? So I will show it in Explorer. Inside database, I will create a new text file, and I will call it test, but the extension is asset. Okay? Yes. So I have a test asset now here. What will happen if I use test? Create, and it's still creating it. It shouldn't. Well, because I'm asking it to be a type of graph. And it's not the type of graph, because if I select it right now, it's nothing. So how to do this? Well, we have to trust the code and check if it will work later on. But long story short, we got all the way to not only create our folders properly now, but also we got all the way to our create graph method. And that is what I want. Well, I was going to type this method in this episode, but honestly, that folder structure construction was really important, and I took it beforehand. Although it should be fairly straightforward. Well, let's start at least one part. So I will say graph, and you see that it says graph.graph, because I have a graph here anyway. And I will say current graph equals to scriptable object dot create instance of type graph and then I can simply say that very fast. I would say that graph current graph dot initialize, and this code will change, but I want to check that duplication. So we say asset database asset, why can't I see it? Asset, oh, there we go. That's a wrong point to put this guy. I can't have it there. I should have it here. So class graph oh, come on. And I was wondering, why did I have it inside an editor structure? Public static, and from here I will cut the whole thing, paste it here, yes, and I will delete this one. And I was thinking what was wrong. So I have one error here because this guy is not, come on, existing anymore. And I'm okay. Really? Oh, okay, because it's in the same namespace. Okay, so now I have asset database dot create asset current graph inside the path that we want to. The path is inside pop-up window. I'm not fancy of typing it again. Okay, so there, and this is the name, and that's that. So the only thing remaining is that we need to type dot asset at the end. Okay, and then we say asset database dot refresh, and that's it. And before refresh, we need to say asset database dot save assets. So if I build it now, coming back to Unity and hit that, hit test, create, we get a test scriptable object. Now if I want to type test again, create, and it is not cooperating. It's actually, what? It's closing itself. So what did I do wrong there? Well, it's not null. That's correct. And we are returning, basically. So we say debug.log. We have asset. Do I even hit this point? No. Why not? And I'm fairly sure I don't need the .asset file name here. Assets folder, company name, graph editor, resources, database name. BOS, graph editor, resources, database. BOS, graph editor, resources, database. Graph name. Well, what the hell? .asset. It shouldn't. Yeah, we are using asset database, not asset resources. God damn it. So now we should see. Yeah, there we go. So no, it will come back. And yes, it will recreate the file for us. So the reason it was not going there is that whenever you are using asset database, you need the file extension. Otherwise, if you are using resources.load, you don't need it. Well, thing is that our graph utility right now is sitting inside our editor. Okay? And later on, we will have a way to use resources.load outside this guy. And we will take a look at that later on. Okay? So right now we just generated a simple graph. If you noticed, this is the type graph. Okay, the graph name, it has 0 nodes and it has no active node. Well, if I make it 3, for example, you will see that they are accepting nodes. Okay, and many things should happen. Right now I just made the graph. I didn't make the graph schema, for example. That's one of them. And because I checked, let me show you my nodes. These were my R&D nodes. If you look at this top of create node graph, I had these sanity checks. But now, because I'm using that initialize on load method, well, I don't need to do any sanity checks there. And actually, we have very small things left, and I have time for it. So let me implement it. So after we created the graph, so let me see. We are saying, no, actually we need to do stuff. So let's do it very fast. We say, what did I call it? Node, no, come on. Node editor window. And why I'm not seeing you? Aha. Oh, heck. I don't have access to node editor window this way. So, comma, editor window, that is our window that we need to send in from here, okay? And we say that, hey, node editor window dot instance, and we call it var window equals to that. If window equals to null, then we say window equals to get window of type node editor window. Then still, okay, if not, window equal if window blah does not equal to null, do these guys for me. Didn't mean that. Okay, bam. Actually, no, just that one is more than enough. So delete tab. Okay, and now we send in the window now. So window. The reason I'm doing it because node graph editor doesn't have common editor doesn't have reference to node editor. If I add it, I will have an infinite loop of dependency, and most of the time, Unity won't be happy. Well, I can remove this part anyway. Shift tab. Come on, work. Save that. So we have a graph, and why are you not happy with that? Remove that part. Import the namespace. Okay, whatever. If you are happy, I am happy. So that is a redundant thing there. Now, after creating this guy, we need to create our graph schema. So graph schema and current graph schema equals create instance of graph schema, not state, damn, graph schema I said. There we go. And after we initialize the graph, remember, anything related to the schema should happen after the non-schema thing. So current graph schema dot initialize. So we initialize that. Now we want to set the name of this guy. So current graph dot graph name equals to the graph name equals to the name that we sent in. Okay. And we want to save the asset yet, the graph actually. Then I have to save the asset once here, because if we don't, then Unity won't be happy. Then we want to say create the asset, but inside the folders construction dot editor folder plus / the name plus schema dot asset. Okay, the asset we want to add is this schema. Okay, and why are you not happy now? Because I forgot a plus. So we save the schema and we say asset database dot save assets. But between these two, we say current graph schema dot related graph equals to our current graph. Okay, and I will move this initialize part from here down to here, actually before we set the related graph. Okay, or no? Yeah. In my notes, I'm not sure why, but I added it after the related graph anyway. So we save the assets, and that's it for time being. Until we really hit the behavior tree, we have to add more stuff here. So I will put a note to do behavior tree node creation. Okay, and that is start node. And actually for the math, we have math tree, but instead of start, we will have a result node. So those creations will happen here. But for time being, if I build my solution now, if I come back, and if I delete this test, if I create a test, you would see that two things happen. First, I have a test, but under the editor, I have test schema that its related graph is test graph. And that's exactly what I wanted. Okay? Now, I'm not happy with the naming I had, so I will put a space there. Okay? And that's it. So we were able to create our very first scriptable objects that related to each other. So the schema will always sit inside the editor, but it will have a reference to the non-editor graph itself. And now we should be able to load the graph and delete the graph. The unload and clear, well, I forgot something. I forgot a really important thing. Here, at the end, we say if, well, not here, actually, before these things. So I hit these things from here. Yeah, actually here, we say if the current graph equals null, or the current graph schema equals null, then return. For whatever reason, we were not able to create anything. Okay? And actually, I want to break it. So, Control X, put it here, return, and if the current graph, that's now return. Now, at the end of saving asset, we say if the window we sent in does not equal null, we say window dot, and we don't have it yet, do we? I think we don't have it. Yeah. Current graph schema equals to current graph schema. And we don't have it yet. So I need to add it here. And we have it. So, instance, derp. Well, now this is problematic. This is problematic. Window dot. Do we have instance? No. Well, what I'm derping about, I moved this guy inside the editor solution. Am I? Yeah. Derp, derp, derp. Remove this part from here. Come back to your node pop-up. Remove it from here. Remove this part from here. Make it simple. Work your brain, buddy. So we say node editor. Oh, now I remember what happened. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. Yeah. We need to typecast it to, wow, node editor window, and we don't have it. What if I want to add a reference here? I'm fairly sure it won't yet let me. So, yeah, you see, okay. Yeah, you see, it yells at me. So, yeah, I will address this issue later because we need to typecast the window we send in. You see, I'm accepting an editor window. And yeah, basically we'll have one problem. What I want is to get this guy, at least the type of it, and then I would be able to call its instance and then current window, okay? But I won't be able to do it normally. I need to use a reflection to look inside the whole solution to find this guy for me and return its type, okay? So yeah, we will have to wait for a reflection utility in next episode. Until that episode, have fun everyone. Bye-bye.